Yesterday, Flesh and Blood celebrated its 4-year anniversary, and to be completely honest, that is kind of a big deal. Most trading card games don't last past a couple years, and Flesh and Blood is not only still here, but thriving, having record player numbers as well as just growing at a constant rate with no signs of slowing down. How's it going, Rogues Gallery? And today we're going to talk about Flesh and Blood's 4-year anniversary and basically share with you what Flesh and Blood means to me, because Flesh and Blood means quite a bit to me, both personally and professionally. And not only that, I want to hear what Flesh and Blood means to you. It doesn't have to be as grandiose as what I'm about to say, because things are going to get a little bit personal here. We're going to go into some story time, but I want to hear what Flesh and Blood means to you. And not only that, you know what? In the spirit of celebration, let's give away one of my few remaining Good Deeds Don't Go Unnoticed promo cards. So what we're going to do is, I just want you to comment down below exactly what I just asked. What does Flesh and Blood mean to you? And in a week or so, I'll pick a winner at random from the comments down below, as long as you did the thing. If you comment what Flesh and Blood means to you, and you know what, also like the video and subscribe. Do those two things too. Do those two things too. I should have said those things first, and you can get entered to win that Good Deeds Don't Go Unnoticed promo card. They're actually worth a little bit of money here, so it's not nothing. So yeah, we're gonna get a little real. We're gonna talk about my history with Flesh and Blood, and we're gonna talk about why it's just kind of remarkable and kind of a big deal for me. To peel back all transparency, this is something that we talked about in the most recent Living Legends podcast, and due to some technical difficulties, and by that I mean me accidentally having my mic muted, no one will ever see that episode. It'll be the lost episode, but I did go pretty deep and give a huge spiel about what Flesh and Blood means to me, and then both Az and Bill kind of talked about what Flesh and Blood meant to them. And because that episode is lost, I figured, you know what, let's just make a full video about it and also do that cool little giveaway. So, yeah, without further ado, let's get into it. So, I want to talk about a little bit of my history as a card player and just kind of as a person. So, I've been playing trading card games almost my entire life. I started with Magic the Gathering in about 1995, and I have played competitive Magic for, you know, a decent amount of time during that period. Not only that, card games were how I met most of my friends, if not all of my friends. Everyone I knew was someone who played card games with me, you know, friends that I met through Magic or through Yu-Gi-Oh! Or through other trading card games. I've played a lot of different trading card games, but I was one of those kids who, you know, during recess in middle school, we'd be playing Magic. In high school, we would be playing Magic. And even in college, I started, you know, drifting a little bit away from the card game scene, focusing more on guitars and girls, if I'm going to be completely honest. And I still played Magic. Every set that came out, I'd invite all my buddies over and we'd have a big drink and draft at my apartment. That's what we called it. It's pretty explanatory, the drink and draft. And so what Magic was for me as like an adolescent and young adult, Flesh and Blood is for me as an adult. I meet almost all of my friends now through Flesh and Blood, people that I talk with and hang out with every single week. You know, sometimes in person, most of the time online. And I'm going to give another shout out to the Living Legends podcasts and my co-hosts, Az from Go Again Gaming and Bill from the Spike Feeders and Spike Feeders Fab. These are two people that I talk to literally every single week, and it is one of the things that I look forward to the most. And I would not have met these people if it weren't for Flesh and Blood. Other folks that I've met, like my good friend Steven, aka DM Armada, good friends Jim from FAB TCG Cards, Ian Kenderdine, who formerly worked at Legend Story Studios. All of these people I met through Flesh and Blood, and these are people I literally talk to almost daily, like, you know, via chats or Discord calls, or just kind of generally hanging out. These are people that I've traveled, you know, across the country to see at events. In some cases, you know, Ian flew over through, you know, from New Zealand for the Flesh and Blood Pro Tour. So I likely would have never met the professor, who's become a good local friend of mine outside of content creation, if it weren't for Flesh and Blood. But even beyond that, even beyond the personal level, Flesh and Blood has changed my life in pretty remarkable ways. It has changed it on a professional level as well. If you didn't know, I am a full-time content creator. I do this, you know, for a living these days. Not just making YouTube videos, I also do casting and coverage for various card games. I've done casting coverage for Flesh and Blood, we'll talk about that, as well as games like Grand Archive. I've done consultant work for trading card games. I make weekly or semi-weekly videos for major TCG outlets like TCG Player and Channel Fireball, which TCG Player is now Channel Fireball. There's a whole thing. It's hard to say what I would have accomplished without Flesh and Blood, because card games are truly my passion, and I would still be here talking about card games with everyone if it weren't for Flesh and Blood, just, you know, different card games. So it's hard to say where I would be now, but I think it's safe to say that Flesh and Blood really, really got me into the door, like, industry-wise. Like, Flesh and Blood was the first semi-major, I don't want to say major, because at the time no one knew what Flesh and Blood was. I got into Flesh and Blood before Arcane Rising, after the first set. I've been here since the start, and they kind of, you know, gave me a shot. My channel at the time was maybe 1,000 to 3,000 subscribers, and I reached out to them and I was like, hey, your game looks awesome, I'd love to cover it on my channel. And they were like super cool to me. As a small you know, YouTube channel, they were obviously a small independent card game. No one really knew who they were at the time, and they sent me an alpha booster box, 4 starter decks, and some play mats. And they were the first TCG manufacturer, TCG company that really did that, and I'll never forget that. Now, at this point in my life, at this point in my career, I have worked with Bandai, I've worked with Bushiroad and Cygames, and a bunch of other indie TCGs like Grand Archive, and some other ones as well. But Flesh and Blood will always be that first one that really, really gave me a shot. But before I really got into Flesh and Blood, I was doing content for another card game called Force of Will, and I was like the second biggest Force of Will channel, and even then, the Force of Will company never gave me like the time of day. They never like reached out to me or you know, wanted me to help them with preview season, or to send me product, or even just to reach out to talk to me, or anything at all. But Legend Story Studios, they did, and not only that, but for like their very second set, Arcane Rising, they gave me a spoiler card. They gave me Knock the Death Whistle. And, you know, I've been a huge fan of the game since I first started playing it, right? It looked awesome to begin with at Welcome to Wraith, and after playing it, I was absolutely hooked. And I will say this now, just to say it, I never doubted Flesh and Blood, their vision, or their integrity a single time throughout these last 4 years. I have been just a huge fan of the game. I've been here the whole time, and I will continue to be here. Flesh and Blood is my favorite card game, and if it wasn't clear, it means a tremendous amount to me, both personally, like I said, and professionally. If it wasn't for Flesh and Blood, there's a very good chance that I never would have worked with Channel Fireball. And because of working with Channel Fireball and doing content for them, I started doing casting and coverage. And because of the casting and coverage, it led to just other things, you know, other opportunities that allowed me to expand professionally and allowed me to become a full-time content creator. It's kind of just like this chain of events, and it all starts with Flesh and Blood. And like I said, it's hard to say where I would be now if it weren't for Flesh and Blood, what games I'd be talking about. I mean, I just love card games, so I would be here either way, but it just really can't be understated, and how I don't know how to put this, how grateful I am for the game, but also just how much the game, you know, means to me, right? Like, that's the whole purpose of this video, just to talk about what Flesh and Blood means to me personally. It's obviously going to mean something completely different for you. Like I said, doesn't have to be like a grandiose thing like what I am talking about here. Flesh and Blood to you can just mean something as simple as, you know, going to your armory every Friday and hanging out with your friends and playing Flesh and Blood. It could mean, you know, that time that you sold a cold foil legendary for $5,000. It could mean, you know, playing Ultimate Pit Fight for the very first time with the new Round the Table product. It could mean whatever it, you know, does to you. But here at the 4-year mark, I think it's very safe to say that Flesh and Blood means a lot to a lot of people. It's a game that preaches coming together under the common language of playing great games in the Flesh and Blood, with all other barriers lifted, all other like social, economic barriers lifted. We're just playing card games together in the Flesh and Blood, and it is a mission statement that I believe wholeheartedly. You know, it's something that really, really resonates with me, and it's something like, you know, the supporting of the local game stores, which is something that I never want to see die out, right? I lived through seeing like arcades die out. I do not want to see local game stores die out in favor of like digital stuff. I don't think it's going to, by the way. I'm just saying, like, companies and games like Flesh and Blood that, you know, specifically focus on the local game store is, they're very, very important in this day and age. This is a conversation that I didn't really plan for. This is really off the cuff, so I didn't plan on talking about this kind of stuff. So this is kind of me just like spewing it all out. But truly, Flesh and Blood just means a whole lot to me. It's hard to state and quantify exactly how much, right? But I firmly believe that just people in general should really, really remember what got them into the door, what you know, how they started out, where they've come from, and what led them to where they are now. And it's by no small part that Flesh and Blood has helped me be where I am today. I'm so thankful for that. And for that, I just want to cap this off by thanking not only James White, the creator of Flesh and Blood, but I want to thank everyone who works at Legend Story Studios, all of you. Everyone from MJ, Sam Yang, Robbie Wen, Brian Gottlieb, Alan Hale, every single person who works at Legend Story Studios, I think is worthy of recognition and worthy of praise. And I truly believe that they don't get enough. James White is kind of like the face of Legend Story Studios and Flesh and Blood, but you never forget everyone else who goes into making this game that I genuinely love, and I know a lot of you out there love as well. If it wasn't for folks like Robbie Wen, the game wouldn't look the way that it does. It wouldn't have the lore that we love. Same with MJ, she's the one who designed all of like the card borders. You have Sam Yang who works in art as well. Brian Gottlieb, who has now been a godsend for the team, who is helping drive Flesh and Blood into a bright future. So I just want to say, like, from the bottom of my heart, thank you to everyone who works at Legend Story Studios, and yeah, you've changed not only my life, but the lives of a lot of other people. So, yes, before I get too emotional, please just comment down below what Flesh and Blood means to you. In a week or so, I'll pick a winner at random as long as you followed the rules, like the video, subscribe, comment down below, and I'll pick one of y'all and I'll just mail that promo to you. It doesn't matter where you live. If you live in Japan, Brazil, the US, Canada, the UK, wherever you live, I will ship the promo to you. No sweat. And before I go, I also want to just thank you. That's right, you, the person listening, watching, here. Thank you for being here. Whether you've been a member of the Rogues Gallery for years, and I know that there are some people who have been here and subscribed for many, many years, which is just unbelievable to me, or if this is your very first video, you are all appreciated. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being a part of this community. You're all awesome, and I couldn't do this without you. If you'd like to support or anything like that, well, hey, just liking the video, just commenting and subscribing, you know, entering the giveaway, that's all great. If you want to do more, hey, we have a Patreon, we have channel memberships, we have a bunch of affiliate links and all that kind of good stuff down below. We have the online store. We have Flesh and Blood style playmats with art done by Flesh and Blood artists, and anime style stuff as well. So I think we're gonna cap it here for now. I'm not sure exactly how long this video is gonna be. I've started and stopped multiple times. It's a little bit difficult for me to talk about, much more so than just talking about card games in general, or just having a general card game topic. The timer says 21 minutes. I don't know how much I'm going to be cutting out of this, but I just want to say once again, finally, I've said thanks enough. Just, hey, cheers. Thank you for being here. Don't forget, once again, enter this good deeds giveaway. Comment down below what Flesh and Blood means to you. Like the video, subscribe, and